Hi, I'm Lydia Rackham, and you probably know me from my writing, my novels, my fan fictions. But this is actually a series on specific prayers in the Bible and how they were answered, and what we can learn from each one of these things about prayer and our relationship with God. And so right now we're kind of going through the story of Abraham, and we just finished with Hagar and her encounter with Jesus and in the desert. And so now we are in, let me see, where are we? We are in Genesis 17. And it's when God comes again to Abram and he repeats his promise that, and then he renames Abram and Sarai and calls him Abraham and calls her Sarah, and also tells him to be circumcised. So that's the first kind of law that's given, is the circumcision. This is what you, and there you have to walk in faith, keep walking in faith. And so this is 17, verse 15. God also said to Abraham, "As for Sarai, your wife, you are no longer to call her Sarai. Her name will be Sarah. I will bless her and will surely give you a son by her. I will bless her so that she will be the mother of nations. Kings of peoples will come from her." Abraham fell face down. So he's in front of God. But he laughed and said to himself, "Will a son be born to a man 100 years old? Will Sarah bear a child at the age of 90? And Abraham said to God, "If only Ishmael might live under your blessing." So, what do we know about that prayer? First of all, Abraham is laughing, which means he's not scared of God. Isn't that like the first thing you can assume? He's not scared of him. Now, he reverences him and respects him. He's on his face, but he's not afraid of him. He doesn't think, oh, like, how in movies there are bad guys and then their minions are just trembling in their presence. Like, like if you're going to disagree with them or tell them bad news, you don't want to, because you know that the bad guy's just going to kill you. Even if it's true bad news, he's going to kill you. That's not how Abraham's relationship is with God. They are friends. So Abraham laughs to himself and is like, I'm 100 years old. He got the promise when he was 75. It's been a long time. And so, and Sarah is 90. So she is definitely past the age of having kids. Even though they are still vigorous and running around, the laws of nature, as Abraham knew them, it's not possible for a 90-year-old and a 100-year-old person to have babies, no matter how good they look. So, so he's like, well, that's not possible. And so Ishmael's already getting pretty big. And so he thinks, well, because how old was he when Abraham was 86 when Hagar bore him Ishmael, and so now he's 100. So Ishmael's growing up, and so he thinks still, okay, well, we've had one kid. I have had one kid, and so that could be, plus he loves him. He's his son. He's his son. He's his only son. In Abraham's mind, he's my only son. But God is aware that he gave the promise to the one flesh. He gave the promise to Sarah. He's been promising her this whole time, I'm giving you a son. So, a legitimate son. This is going to be a legit son through your legit wife. And so now, finally, God makes it absolutely clear, which Abraham could have asked for clarification before, but he didn't. So God is like, look, it's going to come from you and your wife. But Abraham laughs and he's like, no. And he prays for Ishmael. Now, what do we already know that God has promised to Hagar? He said that he was going to make her descendants lots and lots and lots. And so she wasn't going to die. She was going to have lots of descendants. So we know that. And you can assume that it's from Ishmael. But, there is also the possibility that she would marry and have more children. Very possible. So it's a little vague for her promise, too. It was just kind of an assurance. You're not going to die here in the desert. I'm going to take care of you. So we already know that promise, but I don't know that Hagar went around sharing that. She was probably smart not to, because she was supposed to be humble. So she's going to be blessed. But Abraham asks for Ishmael to have a blessing. Now, God could have said, look, did I give you any instructions about doing it like that? In fact, now I'm telling you that I intended for it to be your wife. So, this wasn't what I wanted. And it's very possible that it was delayed because of the animosity that arose between Sarah and Abraham because of Hagar. They probably weren't feeling too snuggly with all of that going on. And that's at least 9 months of, and who knows how long it took afterward to heal from that situation and get over the jealousy and all of that and try to repair their relationship. All of that probably got, they probably got delayed some because of the drama that didn't need to be there. So God could have explained all of that. But here's what God said. He said, then God said, yes, because Abraham said, if only Ishmael might live under your blessing. God said, yes, but your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you will call him Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. I will surely bless him. I will make him fruitful and will greatly increase his numbers. He will be the father of 12 rulers, and I will make him into a great nation. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you by this time next year. When he had finished speaking with Abraham, God went up from him. So, and here's the interesting part. On that very day, Abraham took his son Ishmael and all those born in his household or bought with his money, every male in the household, and circumcised them as God told him. Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised, and his son Ishmael was 13. Abraham and his son Ishmael were both circumcised on the same day, and every male in Abraham's household, including those born in his household or brought with him foreigner, was circumcised. So he instantly obeyed what God told him to do. Even if that doesn't make any sense. Why are we doing this? God said so. Okay, we're doing it. But God said, as for Ishmael, I have heard you, and I'm going to make him into a huge deal because of you. And so recently, it's funny how God communicates with you. I saw this movie that my brother showed us. What's it called? The Visitor? I'm not sure what it was called. It has Amy Adams in it, and the guy who plays Hawkeye. His name is escaping me right now. And it's aliens have come, and she's a linguist, and so they grab her to try to communicate with these aliens, and they spend their life basically trying to communicate with these aliens. But the one thing they learn is that the aliens are time travelers, and they look at time in a non-linear way. In fact, what they are is they are above it, and they are looking at it like this, kind of like a weaving or a tapestry, and they can enter it at any time. And as I was watching this and they were describing it, I was like, this is how God thinks. This is how God operates. He's not bound by like a timeline. He is above it, and he can go do 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 do. He can see. He's got the beginning and he's got the end. And it's kind of a stupid thing for me to just now realize, but like he's a writer. God is a creator and a writer, and he is looking at the finished manuscript. He's got the beginning, he's got all of it, and he's got the end. And so he can go in and edit and change things however he wants. There are certain things in the narrative that have to stay the same because he wants it to end the same way. Like if you're a writer, you're like, no, this has to end this way. But there are things that you can rearrange within the narrative that create that the outcome is still the same in the very end, and then the outcome's still the same, but you can still rearrange things. And that the characters don't know. The characters are in the moment. Like any time that you pick up a book and you open it, the character is feeling what they're feeling in that moment. Because they don't know. They don't know what's on the next page. They don't know what's happening next. But the writer does. And so God knew that Abraham was going to make that prayer about Ishmael. And then he went back and answered it to Hagar first. Because he's like, look, it's not that God forces you to do anything, but he does know your character. He doesn't force you to do anything, but if you pray, see, I guess that's what I'm saying. Here's the power of this. If you pray, God can go back in time and do something. Try to get your brain around that. I can't. I can't really do that. But God, there's literally no such thing as saying, whoop, too late. Too late. Can't do anything about that. I mean, now, he might decide, I'm not doing anything about that. I'm not, in particular things. But why not ask? Because you don't know. You don't know. It's like Abram was like, bless Ishmael. And God's like, I heard you. I heard you. And I will. So for coming up here, I'm going to get a sheet of paper because this is going to be real interesting to you. I did this for myself. I'm going to get a sheet of paper and I'm going to write yes and no on them. And then we're going to do, as we go through this, I'm going to do tallies. How many answers to prayer were yes and how many were no? You are going to be shocked at the result in this Bible right in front of you. I'd be interested to hear what you think. If they are mostly yeses, mostly nos, or no answer, or if they're about even. Like if you just are thinking about it, put that in the comments. Tell me, like, what do you think the answers are in the Bible to prayers? And because so far, Cain, my punishment is too much and people will kill me. And so help me. And so God says, okay, yes, you will be protected. And then Abram said, I need a son. If you're going to make me into a great nation, I'm going to need a kid. And God says, yes, going to give you a kid from your body, not an adopted person, you. You're going to have a kid. Hagar, in her heart, screaming, help me. Essentially, I need help from some God somewhere. I need someone to see me. Help. Yes. Abraham asked God, please bless Ishmael, this unplanned kid, on your perspective. Like, that wasn't part of the promise. We screwed up, and we made an Ishmael. But could you please bless him? And God says, yes. Even out of really messy situations, they asked. He said yes. Ponder that. And I will talk to you next time.